So when it comes to the needle turn applique, what you're looking to do is actually try and find a thread color that matches as closely as possible. I don't have the perfect orange that matches exactly with this one. So I'm going to go with the closest, which is going to be this one. It's not too bold. It's a little bit lighter, but we're going to make it work because that's what quilters do best, right? We make things work. So I'm going to get myself a little bit of thread. Now here I am actually going to tie a knot at the bottom of my thread. All right, once that's done, I'm going to grab my thread gloss. Again, this is not something that you have to do. I've just found that generally I prefer when I'm working with a thread weight that is lower than 12 weight, so talking about a 50 weight, a 40 weight, an 80 weight, a 28 weight, those are all thread weights that I use some thread gloss with. And I'm still working with the same needle. So the straw needle that I use to thread baste my piece, I'm going to use as well to start doing my needle turn. Now, what I like to do is actually kind of bury my knot in these pieces. So you'll see that we haven't quite gotten to the point where things are already tacked down. So I'm just going to sneak my knot in up in there. So just like so. Now that I have that tacked down, what I want to do is then what you can do, so you have a couple of options here. One, decide which way you're going to be going. I think I'm going to actually go, I tend to like to stitch this way. So position yourself in a way where it feels comfortable and that you're stitching in a direction that feels comfortable to you. But basically what you want to do is you're going to use you're using your thread basting stitch work as your guide. So you're going to use your needle to flip the piece under. You can also use your fingers. It's whatever you feel most comfortable doing. But basically what you end up doing is you're ending up with a seam allowance that's it's a little bit shy on the full 1/4 inch. So you're not doing a full quarter inch under, turning a full 1/4 inch under. You're going to be turning it in under about just a little bit over an 1/8 of an inch. So there's the first stitch. So let me just explain to you what I've done here. Okay. So you won't have as many problems because you don't have all the cracks that I have on my fingers. So it'll be a lot easier for you. So let me just get my threads out of the way here so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I lifted up my piece so that I could get my needle, my needle and my knot buried underneath because I don't want that sticking out somewhere here. You could alternatively just go right from the back because no one's going to see that. But if you were working on a piece where you could see the back, that's a way to do it. Once you've got yourself, you tucked under your seam allowance, then you want your stitches to come right out on the side of that perimeter. So wherever you've tucked in, that fold that you've created, that's where you want your stitches to come out from. Once you have those set up, you can use your needle to flip things under, or you can still use your fingers. It's up to you. But once you have it tacked down, what you want to do is, I'm going to see if I can actually, let me zoom in here a little bit for you. Okay, so you want your stitches to be coming out on the edge. Once you have your stitch in, you want to go underneath and then come back out, and always coming out along the edge. So that folded edge that you're creating, that's where you want your stitches to come out through. Hang on. And then you pull through. So my stitch work is going to be a little bit more visible just because I'm working with a light thread color. So if you have a color that matches exactly your fabric, that would be what you want to use. So I'm just using the needle to make sure that I've got a nice curve and I've got a nice fold under. So I go straight down, I pivot, and then I come back out along that edge. this is a good opportunity to pop on a podcast, listen to some music, have a chat with a friend. This step will take a couple of minutes just to tack everything down, but it does create a very lovely finish. And it's a technique that comes in handy to have in your quilting repertoire, because you can add shapes of any style to your quilts and tack them down. It's also great for adding layers to your quilted projects. And in this case, it's an opportunity to add curves without doing without having to piece them. So I'm just going to continue working my way around the perimeter of this until the entire canopy has been stitched in. So you can see how, I'm going to bring it up for you, but you can see how there is a little bit of stitches visible. Again, this is mainly because I'm working with a lighter colored thread. If you're working with the exact same color as your fabric, your stitches will be barely visible. So I just flip under as I come up to it. Don't worry about flipping under all the way here. You're just going to end up having to reposition it anyways. So really don't get ahead of yourself too much with this one. Just take your time. As you come up, flip it under. You can use your needle, you can use your finger, whatever feels more comfortable to you. The dexterity in my fingers is a little bit different with my cracks that I've got going on. So that's just an additional challenge that I got at the moment, but that's okay. I'm still able to make it work. Now the distance that you want to be taking your stitches is anywhere between 1/4 inch and 1/8 of an inch. I don't like to do them too close together. I don't think it's necessary, but you don't want them too far apart either, because you don't want to compromise the integrity of your block, meaning you don't want something to be able to come underneath and rip, or you don't want a gap too large so that something can come in and tear it open. But don't forget, you're going to be quilting on top of all of this, so you don't need to have it you don't need it to be super tucked down. So just go down where you came up and then try and come out along that edge. All right, so I'm just coming to the end here. As you tack down your last couple of stitches, I'm going to flip my block over. I'm going to pull my needle through, and then I'm just going to quickly tie a knot. So I just like to wrap the thread around my finger and then use my needle to really bring that knot as close to my fabric as possible. You could also do a quilter's knot if you would prefer. That's just how I do it. And there you have your first canopy tacked down. So at this point, now that you've gone around and tacked down all of your stitches using your blind stitch, now comes the fun of actually pulling out your thread. So this is why you're basting threads. So this is why we didn't tie a knot. Now I did end up getting a knot over here, so I'm just going to quickly pull that, cut that, and then you can just pull your thing out and like like that. And then I'm just going to give a quick press just to get rid of my my markings here. I used an erasable marking tool, so I'm just going to go and press it, and I'll show you what that looks like. And there you have the large canopy attached. So we've used the matching, or as close as possible, thread to blind stitch it down. And then we used a contrasting thread for our basting stitch, just so that we have a clear delineation on that. And then from the back, you can see how your stitches should form a pretty good circle going around that canopy. And the other thing to note is that I don't have any gaps. I don't see any of the background fabric where my canopy meets my stem or my tree trunk. So now we just got to do the medium and the small.